Okay, so we're on 1813.
Yeah.
Meshiv davar b'terem yishma, ivelas hilo uchlima. So we translated that yesterday as one who responds or who answers a thing before he hears it. It is foolishness for him and shame. And Sadigon added just a couple little things here. One who responds with an answer before hearing all of it. It is foolishness from him and an embarrassment to him. The last part might just be like a little grammatical thingy, but the main part was one who responds to an answer before hearing all of it, as opposed to before hearing it at all, which kind of is a mashma, but yeah. So then our questions were, who's the audience of the pasuk? Why would a person want to respond to something before hearing it? What situation is he talking about? What type of like responding is this? What is he saying that you give a incorrect response, or is it just that the timing is bad, or is it both? What is ivelis in general? What is it in the particular context? What is klima in general, and what is it in the particular context? How is this different than what chachamim do when they anticipate what someone's going to say before they say it? We're just no one voted, so we're doing 1813.
Okay.
Yeah. Did you see the message and just design?
I did, but I was trying to think already.
Okay. And then the other thing is, what's the consequence? Like, so what? Who cares if you're embarrassed? Is it? I mean, and not that that's like a bad thing. It's like it could just be that unpleasantness, embarrassment makes unpleasantness, and Mishlei doesn't want you to have unpleasantness. But is there more than that? Yeah.
Right.
Those are the questions. Hold on, let me just see if anyone. I just got the WhatsApp. I just need to see if this is in regards to something different for this morning. Okay, no. All right.
Okay, so yeah.
Did we take any steps yesterday?
No, I don't think so. Maybe.
Yeah.
Did we?
I don't remember.
I think so. The problem we're doing it, they're not doing it before they heard it because they're doing it because they know what the person's going to say.
Mm-hmm.
And they're actually right.
Right.
Whereas in this case, the guy is not.
Yeah. So the only thing I'm thinking about now, the only thing I don't like about that interpretation is it kind of messes with the definition of hearing it. Like you can say that, but it's pulling a move because they are responding to it before they hear it. I mean, you even said that yesterday, that it might be understand it, right? Yeah. But clearly for the fool, it's talking about before he hears it. Yeah. Would you like to hear a Rabbeinu Yonah on it?
Sure.
Because I recall that was the best interpretation I found when I did this over the summer.
And it's on all the Torah now.
It is. Making good use. Rabbeinu Yonah on, where is this? 13. Yeah, okay. So he says, unfortunately that's not in your standard Mikos Gedolos. This is a short one though. Hagava miderech ha'ivelas. Midarche ha'ivelas. Okay, so haughtiness is one of the traits of an avil, of Ivelis. And where's he getting this haughtiness? Why is he talking about haughtiness?
The
previous pasuk, right? Yeah. V'hine hameshiv davar b'terem yishma. Someone who responds to something before he hears it, hamida hazos tore al gova halev. So this mida of this here mida, I think he means like a behavioral characteristic of responding to something before you hear it. That points to gova halev, to haughtiness. Ki hu boteach belibo lahavin divrei chavero, because he is secure in his mind or in his heart that he will understand the words of his friend. Terem kala ladaber, before he finishes talking. So that's also like Sadigon, before he finishes talking. V'hine techashiv lo leivelas v'gava uchlima. He puts the word gaiva in there, right? It will be considered for him as foolishness and gaiva and chlima. The galus hadavar, when it becomes revealed or manifest, ki lo having divrei chavero. When it becomes manifest that he didn't understand the words of his friend. Halo tirelo tihelo zos laboshes gam lecherpa. This will be for him a shame and an embarrassment. Yeah. So the main thing he's adding here is the gaiva thing.
Right.
So I think that's a good clue.
Cool.
So what can we say based on that?
I mean, he's I think based on that, I'd say he's preempting his fellow because he thinks he is like can easily and like readily understand what the guy is going to say.
Yeah.
And so, because he's great. So then when he doesn't, then that shows that he isn't.
Yeah. Okay, good. So that's the type, of our 4 interpretations of the last pasuk. Then this is that fits very nicely into the interpretation of the shever being defined as the breaking of his like exaggerated sense of self, right? He thinks that he is great in here because he can understand what his friend says before he finishes saying it. And then the fact that he clearly didn't, like, is like undeniable evidence that he's not that, he doesn't have that greatness, the same greatness that he thought. Yeah. So then what is it getting at by saying it's inivelas and a chlima for him?
In sense of it, he's just clean.
Yeah. I mean, the ivelis is the fact that that he was wrong, right? Like he thinks he's actually answering, but he's not even answering because he didn't understand the thing properly.
Yeah.
But how's that ivelis?
Also, I have another question.
Yeah.
Why is this like the paradigm of Gaiva? Like, why is
No,
this,
I don't think it's a paradigm.
Okay.
I don't even think that's what Rabbeinu Yonah is saying.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. It's a weird case to have. Like, it seems like it's just a very specific kind of case.
Yeah, it is a more specific case than we're used to, but that's not unusual in Mishlei. A lot of Mishlei, like this actually relates to what we were talking about yesterday, is that that Mishlei focuses on particulars because that's really where it affects your emotions. You know, I was going to say another thing though. Oh yeah, so one thing that Rabbeinu Yonah does, we talked about this. I forgot. It must have been last week. We were talking about, or maybe it was this week. Not darshaning smuchim, right? And I mentioned that Rabbeinu Yonah does hold that that there is a sense to the order of the smuchim. So it actually corresponds very much to the type of like associative ordering that the Sefer HaMitzvos, Minyan HaMitzvos is in. Like Rabbeinu Yonah will say that we just had a pasuk about gaiva, and then this is an expression of gaiva, and then maybe I forgot what the next pasuk is. Let me just see really quickly. Next pasuk is. Ruach ish yichalkel machale. Okay, that's not going to be relevant, I don't think. But like he could very easily say the next pasuk is about speech because we were just talking about speech here. So it's not like an intrinsic connection, but it's associative.
Cool.
And also, look, I mean, it's interesting because the last pasuk we did was very broad. It wasn't even about a particular type of action. So it would be of service to solidifying the understanding of that to follow it up with a particular example, a highly particularized example.
Right. So ivelis. Yeah,
ivelis. So if we need a working definition of ivelis usually is a type of foolishness. Usually ivelis means like focusing on the surface or on the immediate. So here that would be, I guess.
He's making like a very hasty judgment of what the other guy's doing.
Yeah. It's like he takes his first impression and then assumes that that's going to be accurate. So this shows the fact that he responds to this guy shows that that he himself is like a superficial listener or thinker, either way, right? Because he's taking this one little statement and then he's like running with that without actually like bothering to make sure that that's what the guy's actually saying.
Yeah, I actually have a specific memory of having a conversation with someone about like philosophical thing.
Yeah.
And they assumed that they knew what I was going to like. where I was going with my thing, and I was just like, that was not where I was.
Yeah. I gotta to confess here that it's difficult as a teacher in a high school, especially, to not fall into this trap, because on the one hand, like it is possible many times for me to do what we said that the Chachamim do, which is like anticipate what they're going to ask and then say it. So I can do that often. And then the other thing also is like high school kids don't always know what they're actually asking, and they also aren't always clear. And there is a tendency for people to ask long-winded questions. So for the sake of like not losing the rest of the class, for the sake of like not, like wasting time, then oftentimes I find myself in a position where I have to try to anticipate what they're going to say. And usually I'm right, but sometimes this happens, and then what's even worse when this happens is when there's no chlima, meaning when, let's say you have a student who's asking a question and I anticipate what they're going to say, but I get it wrong, and they're too shy or embarrassed to correct me. And then I end up saying something that is not actually answering their question, and I'm never notified of it, So it is a difficult thing.
Got it. How do you know that happens?
Sometimes I know that happens because when I think about the conversation afterwards, I realize that they might have been asking something else, and then sometimes I'll follow up and ask them if that's what they're asking. But sometimes also it's like they'll bring it up again in some other case, and I'll realize like either they didn't understand what I said or I was not answering their question. Yeah, it's hard.
Reminds me of the opposite of the thing we had about like how you should listen to Chachamim speak.
Oh yeah.
Like assume that they're speaking with depth.
Yes. Yeah. So that is interesting, right? Because they're yeah, right. And that was Rabbeinu Yonah was the one who said it was about listening, right? Yeah. So it's interesting, right? Because they're saying very little, and you do have to go beyond what they say and delve into it, So it on the surface resembles what the Avil is doing, is that getting a little statement and then like going into it, but the Avil is not successfully doing it, and the Chacham is.
Yeah, and I think one piece of evidence of that is that he's misapplying the context. Because here, it's not the person said a little and was done, because they're continuing to talk.
Yeah.
But you're
right. So that actually, can I read to you the 4-sentence summary that I came up with over the summer? We can still do more mafarshim, but I just want to make sure we get at least one idea here, because I think that last point relates to that. What I said, and I have, let's see what I said. Okay, so I said like this: one who responds to a statement before he has heard it or finished hearing it or understanding it, I guess I just say understanding it also, reveals his arrogance, his brash confidence in his ability to ascertain the speaker's intent without fully hearing him out and contemplating his words. Consequently, the responder, meaning the foolish guy, will feel foolish because his response will likely prove to be either wrong or irrelevant. He will feel ashamed not merely because he was wrong, okay, here we go, but because his haughtiness caused him to be wrong after implicitly claiming he'd be right. So it's not just that he's wrong, it's that it's clear that like he was wrong because he was haughty. So that's a different kind of embarrassment, like it shows that, you thought you were so confident that you could understand what I was saying. You couldn't,
Right.
So it is different than just being wrong about something. This is, I think, what you were saying earlier, is that it's tied to his ego. It's like it's evident to everybody that this guy was like overconfident, And then one more sentence. Although the Chacham may be able to infer a speaker's intent before he finishes speaking, he will always be sure to allow the speaker to finish speaking in order to gather maximum data before arriving at a conclusion. This caution will save him from the fate of the arrogant responder. So that was how we addressed the Chacham question, which is like it's in the Chacham's best interest, even if he's 95% sure that he knows what the guy's going to ask. It's in the Chacham's best interest to like hear him out totally, because any Chacham in any area wants full data before forming a conclusion,
Yeah, especially because if the person is trying to ask a question with nuance, then you're like, if they haven't gotten to the nuance part yet,
right? Yeah. That's a good point, right? Is that even if you get it right, like in a general sense, even if your arrow hits the actual target, it might not hit the bullseye because there might be little subtleties about how they could ask it, you know? Yeah.
Like in the case that I'm remembering, we were having a conversation about the philosophical thing that I had heard this person have conversations with other people.
Yeah.
So like, like when I was like listening to the conversations, I was like, oh, like I think there was like a subtle point that like in there in what they were saying that is like I don't exactly agree with. I think it's like unfounded, and I was like, it was like going to like, but like my point was I was gonna talk about that, and then they assumed they knew how I was going to proceed when like that was exactly the thing that I like wanted to focus on.
Right. Yeah. Pausing for 1 second. If you want to, and you don't mind, you can sit closer so that people who do listen can hear you. If I don't know if that's like too close for you or something like that, but yeah, and maybe if I move this here, then that'd be even better. We'll see. I was gonna say one more thing also, which is like I think another thing that often happens is like the pasuk we did about lo yachvot ksil b'tvuna ki im b'hizgalos libo, where like the guy's only interested in showing off his own thoughts. I'm not saying that always lines up with this, but sometimes it kind of, if you make this mistake, then you end up like revealing that you're really just talking to yourself. You know, like if I respond prematurely to what you're saying, and I'm not actually responding to what you're saying, it's like, so what was I responding to? I was responding to something in my own mind, or like I just wanted to like say what I wanted to say, you know. So it could give you that impression, even if it's not actually true.
Yeah.
Should we look at different Mefarshim, just see what other people say? Okay, so let's go to the ones that you have. So let's start off with Metzudas David. Metzudas David says, "B'terem Yishma ad lo yavin divrei hashoal." Okay, without understanding. So that's like what Isaac said. Also, without understanding the words of the asker, hilo, it is to him. Lahameshiv. For the responder, it will be considered foolishness and a shame. Because he doesn't respond properly. Okay, that's a very, 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 very shot just explaining the facts here, right? I don't think that takes us beyond where we were with our questions.
No.
Okay, let's go to Rabag. Rabag says, Meshiv Davar. You have Rabag, right?
Yeah.
Mishu Meshiv Davar b'terem Yishma u'v'yavina Davar asher hu Meshiv alav kinei zeh ha'inen hu lo ibels v'chalima ki kvar yisigehu boshes mipnei shelo yashiv karoi u'zeh roi sheyavin ha'adam b'dvarim kodem sheyashiv alehem. Same thing. Okay, fine. Who else do you have?
Ibn Ezra.
Ibn Ezra. Okay, so fake Ibn Ezra.
Rashi. Actually, I don't have Rashi.
I don't have fake Ibn Ezra on really? I don't have, it's not all Torah?
Uh-oh.
No, fake Ibn Ezra all Torah, which is the one you have, right? I told you about that? Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's the fake Ibn Ezra. So let me see if I can find fake Ibn Ezra.
Oh, what was the other name? What
So the Ibn Ezra in the first edition of Mikros Gedolos Mishlei, the first edition of Mikros Gedolos Mishlei, they accidentally printed the name Ibn Ezra. And it's not actually Ibn Ezra. Ibn Ezra does have a commentary on Mishlei, but it's not the one in the Mikros Gedolos. And it's actually, this is the part I always forget. It's either Rav Yosef Kimchi or Rav Moshe Kimchi. So we'll find out in 1 second because I think I have all of them here. Okay, so how is your
Sholem term sheyavin k'mo goy asher lo.
Okay. Yeah, hold on. So that is not Rav Yosef Kimchi because he doesn't have that. Let's see if it's Rav Moshe Kimchi. Rav Moshe Kimchi. 13.
I have another question.
Sure. Hold on just 1 second. So yours does not start off with Meshiv Davar Lasholim?
Yeah,
okay. Meshiv Davar Lasholim. So Lasholim lo. So one who responds to what they ask him. chachma.
No.
That's not nice.
That doesn't even make sense grammatically. Terem shishma v'hatam terem shiyavin. No, this is not what you have.
It sounds like a different.
Because mine does quote, but you said goy asher lo tishma lashono.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah, mine
Mishlei.
has that.
Here, I'll
Okay, yeah.
The Sholem term shiavin kamo goy asher lo tishma l'shono hayuvelas hitiel atzmo. Perish acher hayuvelas he techashiv lo chlimo shiach limuhu hamdaber imo oacher.
Yeah. Okay. So that is what I have, but mine has more words and different things. So it must be a different version of it. But that last part though is interesting. The Pirush Acher is saying that shiachli muhu had medaber imo o acher, that not that he will be embarrassed, but that they will shame him, like a more active type of like they're going to poke fun at him, or like point out his foolishness. Yeah. What were you going to say?
I guess what kind of what situation of asking are we talking about other than like the high school teacher situation?
Yeah, I mean, it could be anything. It could be like in a business meeting, right? Like, like you start to ask a question about like the plan, and like your boss like assumes that you're going to ask a certain thing, or like it sounds like any response to any question.
Okay, what if it's not a question? It's just like, I mean, I guess their phrase.
I know what you're gonna say.
What if it's just like I guess everyone we've seen so far has said question, but
Yeah,
the pasuk doesn't necessarily say question.
right. Just as
It
response.
could just be right. So if it's just like someone talking.
Yeah, I think that makes more sense, right?
Yeah.
The response, meaning anything that is in part as part of a dialogue. Where you're supposed to listen to the other person and respond to what they say,
Okay.
whether it's a question or not. That makes more sense to me.
Uh-huh.
Did Rabeinu Yonah say that overtly? Let me look again. Rabeinu Yonah said no. So he's leaving open the possibility that it's not for Sheila specifically.
Cool.
Yeah. Were you gonna say something, or was that just a joke?
Just you.
Yeah. Okay. Radak, who you don't have, says, "Mishu davar adam shechaviro shoalo al davar chachma o divrei Torah." So he's limiting it to divrei chachma or Torah, and it's a question. V'hu nivhal lahashiv lo, and he's like hasty to respond. Kodem sheyigmor davara, before his friend finishes his words. V'chavim behem, and he can think about them. Ivelas lo, it's a foolishness for him. Ki lefamim b'sof hadvarim humavar kavanas b'dvarav. Right. Sometimes his intent will only be revealed at the end of his statement. O kishiyamar lo adam davar ani tzarich lishol mi'imach. When a person says, "I need to ask you something," lo yomar lo kol ma tishal mimeni ani etain lecha kodem sheyifar same she'ilas. Wait. I'm getting lost in the pronouns here. O kishiyomar lo adam davar, or when a person says to him something, ani tzarich lishol mi'imacha. I need to ask something of you. Lo yomar, you shouldn't say lo to him. Kol ma shetishal mimeni ani etan lecha. You shouldn't say, "I'm going to give you. I'll give you whatever you want. Or I'll answer whatever you have." Kodem she farsim she'elaso, before he publicizes his question. Kim yishal davar she'eno rotze lasita lo, because if he asked him something that he doesn't want to give him, hu ivelas, it's foolishness. Ki kvar hivticho lasita lo, right? So that's like, can you do me a favor? Sure. Don't say sure, right? Say it depends on what it is.
Right.
So he's saying two different kinds of foolishness, right? One is where you misunderstand the guy's question, and that seems to be the approach that most people are taking. The other is if the guy is if it's a practical request, right? And you before you hear it, you consent to fulfilling it or something like that in some way, or you indicate that you're going to fulfill it. And his shame is going to be because he doesn't stand by his word. Yeah, that's a much more long-term shame. And the requester will become an enemy. I don't know what that is referring to. As it says, why does Hashem get angry about your words? Yeah, so that's don't commit to something before you know what you're committing to. That doesn't quite to me fit in with the words as well in terms of the meshiv davar.
We respond to him before you hear it.
Right, you are responding, but it's like it's more than just a response, it's a commitment. Like
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
like that doesn't fit the word meshiv very well to me. Meshiv to me is like a response to a question, not a consent to a request.
Well, it's more of maybe it's a description of just the action itself.
Yeah, one who, yeah.
Speaking when
Right.
someone speaks to you.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's
Yeah, I mean, the mistake is the same though, is that you are making the assumption that you know what the guy is going to say. Not in this case, not in particular, but in the sense that like, I don't know if it comes from you thinking you know more about the guy than you know, or you think you know about more about like you're misassessing your own generosity or whatever. Yeah. Interesting. Okay.
cool.
All right. That's good.
Thanks.
Thank you. All right. Let's end here.